Welcome back to Stay Paid. My name is Josh Dyke. Quick setup here before we dive into this week's episode because this is part of something new that we're doing. We are releasing a special series of interviews where Luke has been sitting down with the most successful team leaders in real estate. These aren't your typical podcast interviews. These are working sessions where these team leaders are opening up their actual playbooks on recruiting, training, splits, and profit. And there's a reason. We're writing a book on how to build and run a high-producing team. Think the millionaire real estate agent, but for the team era. And instead of locking these conversations away until the book comes out, we are letting you listen in while it gets written right here exclusively in the Stay Paid podcast feed. You can find out information about the book and when it comes out if you go to remindermedia.com/teambook. And all of this is leading up to the $100 million team mastermind, which is September 22nd and 23rd this year at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is a closed-roomed mastermind with Reminder Media and BAM, capped at 100 seats for team leaders ready to scale to 100 million and beyond. We'll have full details at the end of this episode, but you can grab your seat now at remindermedia.com/team event. Today, Luke sits down with Amy Stockberger, the number 1 team in South Dakota and number 33 in the entire country. She served over 350 clients last year with just 23 agents. And when Luke asks about her profit margin, you'll hear him nearly fall out of his chair. Onboarding, accountability, splits, turning call centers into profit centers, it's all in here. Now we're going to drop into the conversation here with Luke and Amy Stockberger.
I just want to dive in, and I'm going to this will be like Q&A and just get your thoughts. And I want to start off kind of with a little bit of background and ask you how many agents you have on your team today.
Right now we have 23.
23 agents on the team. And then 3 years ago, what was it?
Probably 15.
15. Okay, so you've grown some there. And then how many transactions or what type of volume you do usually a year?
I hate talking about this now. I hate it. Yeah. We're still number 33 in the nation. We're number 1 in South Dakota.
Unbelievable.
Still, but last year we served 358 units clients.
Get out of here. Jeez. Yeah, you should be proud of that. Brag away because it shows your success. I love it. Do you run an expansion or a single market?
We're in a single market.
Okay, single market. Okay, awesome. And then how does your team break down in terms of your agents versus operational staff? Like, what is your kind of org chart
ratio?
Look like?
Yeah. I will say this. So my team of 20 some agents, and because our profitability is so high, we're pretty picky on who we bring in to this, because my agents are year after year always the highest producing per agent in our market. And so our market, we're about 275,000 population, and we have 2 big franchises that each have about 200 some agents.
Okay.
And then we have, so they're 1 and 2 in as far as brokerages go. And then we have Berkshire, which is the number 3, and they have 60 agents. And then it's Amy Stockberger Real Estate with 20 agents.
Out of here.
With 20 agents.
Yeah, your productivity is unreal. I want to get into that because I think that you just are driving efficiency and productivity in a crazy way. Do you have a transaction coordinator and an operations director?
Yep. So we have, in-house, we're a brokerage. We run as a teamerage. And I have, my husband is our responsible broker. And then I'm the visionary. I sit in the marketing seat and run that. But I have an ops who's been with me for about 12 years that works here. And we have a transaction management department. It is run now by VAs. We hired an AI consultant last year and went in and just...
Incredible.
Yeah, we're probably close to 70% of our workflow was automated in 25, and we're finishing up now. So we figure what we're going to be able to do now, we get to about 500 units. We'll be able to have 1.5 VAs run our transaction coordination. And my transaction coordination too, like one thing that having a superpower of systems is also a curse sometimes, and having a superpower of service is also a curse sometimes. So our TC checklist, the joke is, like, when I say checklist, everybody here says drink because everything's a checklist. There's a system and strategy for everything. But the checklists are really long because we're always, serving. So when our our consultant came in to do this, he actually came with a real estate background, and he's like, oh my goodness, the amount of care that's being taken care of these clients is so lovely. And that's what I think part of our serve, sell business model has helped in helping our agents be such high producers, because we're giving them the tools to build a referable, scalable, and ultimately sellable business. And a relationship-based, service-centric business is worth like 50 to 100% more than one that's not.
Yeah,
And
well
so,
said.
yep. So like even like little parts about that, have hurt us where I've had to pay more for TC before I did the automation because we do so much. Now we've, gone in and done it the smart way where we're really seeing the uptick of profitability now.
When did you
Again,
decide to build a team instead of staying a solo agent? What made that decision for you?
so my story is I came to work for my dad right out of college, back end, nothing real estate as far as like in sales, but just all admin. And I fell in love with it, got licensed within 2 years. I was a buyer's agent for a hot second. I was a single agent for an even hotter second. And the only thing that was out there, this is my 26th year in the business. The only thing really because Google wasn't Google back then, AI wasn't AI, but Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that book was my
Yeah.
Bible. That was my Bible. And I'm like,
Yep.
that's what I'm doing. So I got my sister licensed almost immediately from getting licensed myself.
Okay.
Hired a part-time assistant who was actually hard of hearing because I was working the deaf market. It was a really big niche and a big group within our area at that time that was quite profitable. And I just started growing from there. My husband left the banking world in 2009 to come over to join us and found the hole in our business in 2014, which made us create the lifetime home support model.
Okay.
And then by 2019, we became our own brokerage.
Okay. So one of the hard parts of, doing a team is knowing what type of team you should be. Like, should you go to 20 agents? Should you be 6 agents? Should you scale to 100 agents? How do you think about that decision? What advice would you give to somebody in terms of team size, and what does it mean to be a team?
I think some people look at it the wrong way. You should be looking at it from profitability.
Okay.
What is, first of all, how you're building your model. And for all of us, it all goes back to us, like our vision and our core values. We live and breathe them, hire, fire, reward, recognize, by those and what we do. And when I found the hole in my business in 2014, and you know my story, so I'll make you go all down that path, but just that we were not getting the repeat and referral business we should have been getting, and it blew my mind. And so that's what made me put together all these strategies to keep our clients for life and help them not only with being the experts at connecting buyers and sellers, but with every other part of the home ownership journey through every stage of the human journey. And so when we built that out, it helped us to, double our competition that was our size, almost double them within like 2 years because we were keeping clients for life and getting so many referrals because we were serving so much authentically and taking care of it and giving them the opportunity to be walking, talking billboards for us because they were getting so much service, which that's, every service.
So you literally would, if someone was going, hey, I want to do a team, you would tell them, like if they asked how big my team should be, you would basically, well, it's really profitability. Like, grow your team, and then it becomes the quality of life. It's like, if you want to go more than 20 and you're profitable, do it. If your quality of life, and you have the structures. Or I'm curious because, all right, now when you decide, okay, I want to build a team, based upon profitability, what is from a recruiting standpoint, how do you go about recruiting? Have you had any things that have worked and things that have been like a disaster, stay away from in your recruiting journey of agents?
Oh my gosh, I have a PhD in failing forward. I have all that. Yeah. So we went through a stage where we were taking part-time agents, which is just, I feel like that's just one thing any aspiring team leaders should look really long and hard at. That if you're wanting to build a profitable and viable team, part-time agents are just the hard way to do it. They're just not going to last. So we went through a time where we were letting that happen, and of course they burnt out and didn't last. We went through a time too where we weren't hiring by our core values and our vision, and that we had a misalignment right away. We've had, one like big success niche that we have is we're really good at turning young agents into high producing agents pretty quick. Okay. So I have like an example right now, a 20-year-old who's been with me for 7 months and has closed 10 units.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Do you attribute that to the onboarding that you put people through? Can you give me high level, like how you think about onboarding an agent?
Yeah, so we do onboarding boot camps. When they come on, it's a 2-day process. Then we run them about 4 times a year. We'll never go above likely 50 agents in this market. And that's by design. And it also, there's something that happens with that if your profitability is good and you're able to keep good agents, your culture's really good. And culture is a really big deal in growing a team, especially in this business. It's a hard business. And so the onboarding process has everything set up during the boot camp. It's basically all hands on what they're learning from A to Z on all of it. We also have a dedicated department, of course, to do just the onboarding hand in hand with them. It's
Okay.
very systematized. They have to go through and they have a shadowing checklist that they have to do. They have to go through and hit these specific training points before they're eligible to be released into the wild and to be released into getting company generated leads.
Okay.
Once they do that, though, because we do have an inside sales department where our business, about 90% is repeat and referral. We do have, we do some cold leads spend as well, but the majority of the people who come in, even through our cold lead, we find are actually coming because they heard about us from some other way. They were just in that portal,
Yep.
and so that happens. But we feed our agents right away to
Do you
get
have
them
a
out there.
trainer that is training them? Okay, through that
Yep,
process.
that's Logan. Yep.
Okay, Logan trains them, and so they come through. They're onboarding through all your systems. Do you have like tests that they have to pass to prove that they have gotten there, or is it just activity? Once you reach a
Yep.
certain level of activity, we'll give you leads.
Yeah, once they get a certain level of activity, they've done everything that lives within their shadowing
Okay.
checklist and their onboarding checklist, the operational part.
Okay.
We figured it out. We do about 7.5 weeks of training every year. Like if we put it all together, like that many hours that agents get from role play to, just regular our workshops that we're doing, that we run, agent workshops, hands-on workshops twice a month, where they're bringing their computers in and they actually get a goal done during it, not just getting talked at. We're like, this is what we're going to work
Great
on.
idea. That is a golden nugget, like actual
Yeah.
work time within a training. Love
So that they're not walking away with like,
Yes.
what do I do? And so they get that. They get coaching, obviously, with my real estate coach. They get that twice a month as well. And then they have Logan as agent support all the time. We also have some digital employees that we set up to be at their access as fast as possible, so that talk in our vernacular, who know our things,
These are AI agents that basically have been trained. Okay.
Yep. That live inside of, Microsoft Teams. We have one that's just getting launched here, that the search spiral. Like we have, everything in Trainual, which is just a where we keep all of our operations, our checklists, our SOPs on that. The agents would go in and they would just get into a search spiral and it would confuse them. So instead of doing that, we say, let's just put some AI into this and put everything into one place.
So now they can interact with it. That's gold. Yep.
Yeah, and they can in a communication portal that they're used to doing. So it's like keeping them within the stack that they need to be, because every time they have to jump stacks, it's just so it just makes it harder, right?
What is your cadence of accountability? What's do you meet with them one-on-one once a week? Do you what's the cadence of accountability, I guess?
Yep. Logan meets with them, and we do it in groups now, which we found that has been really good. We have a really competitive group. And one of the questions we ask actually during interviews is, tell me about the times you've been a part of a team. If they haven't been a part of a team ever, they're likely not going to be a fit for us. Like, we want the competitive ones who want to win. So they meet in pods for accountability once a week. And that's where they're going over all. Logan meets with them and goes over their company generated. They go over any things that they're stuck on, clients they can't get past the finish line, over the finish line, I should say. So that's been really good, and it's good for them to hear each other too, because oftentimes it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. And so they're hearing how those, how somebody else handled a situation in a more intimate setting. That's, a lot of times they don't feel like during our team meetings they want to speak up, because people are humans. They don't want to sound like they're silly, or they want to ask something that maybe they think they should know, where it just allows them to have that accountability to each other too, and that comfortability to each other. And it's
so good.
We're small enough that it's still very, family centric. And
that's so good. How do you, when do you make the determination you're not going to make it? How does that usually play out? Because that's so hard for team leaders to know. Do I keep letting this person underperform? I care about people. I love leadership. That tension is so hard.
Under 3 million is where we have the talk of, 3 million is kind of where we want them to be a minimum at.
Okay.
And if they're not producing under, to that 3 million mark, then we need to have a talk, like, is this the right thing for you, or what's going on? There's sometimes where there's just things in their life going on that are stopping them. Like, we have one really great agent, we've had many times, we've just had life had happened and they didn't hit there, but we know that they're still in the game. But
and so you use that as that's your number benchmark to be able to trigger your convos that need to take place.
Yep.
Do you guys manage to activity every week? Is Logan pulling up their dials and appointments set, or is he more managing to I'm struggling for the word, but you know how you can manage to like someone's goals and you talk to them like you don't, because some people hate the micromanaging of like, hey, you were supposed to hit 200 dials and you didn't. We as Acre Brothers, just to, so you know, we kind of manage the activity, but I know people go different ways on that. How do you guys do it?
We used to have CC was one of our
yeah,
tech
that's
staff.
what we use. Yeah, that's funny. Okay.
Okay, we're migrating out of it, and we automated everything in Monday.com. And so we were monitoring, you know, appointment met and appointment kept. Our ISA still does, and we have that metric where we're monitoring for them on those things and what their conversion looks like from that, so that we can look and see who's converting. And then I always feel kind of like a jerk when I say this stuff, but we're always looking at too, like, here's from their converting, where's their company generated split at?
Yeah.
And where's my profitability? And
100%.
And so we're looking at that and seeing, okay, this is who we're feeding the most.
Are they producing?
Yeah. And so we're monitoring that on our side of it. Our leadership is, so that we're seeing what their conversion rates are. And we call it their regular conversion rate and kind of their watered down conversion rate.
Okay.
And that there's some things that are the human factor that are going to change if they're going to convert with that client, where maybe they didn't show up, or they all of a sudden their financing went crappy and it wasn't anything that agent had anything to do with. So Logan gets those metrics because he meets with them once a week and he knows those things. So he's the one who monitors that. And then we look at it every week in our EOS meetings. I'm like, okay.
So, and you're running OS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. Okay, awesome. So that's great.
I highly recommend I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have started my lifetime home support model the minute I got into the business. And I wish I would have hired a business developer instead of an ISA as my very first hire when it comes to sales. And I wish I would have started EOS right away. Okay. For the entrepreneur who is the visionary, it is the best way for your team to hold you back and keep you accountable.
Yeah, it's great for structures of accountability, communication, goal setting. Yeah, I love it.
And clarity, just like the clarity it brings is night and day from what I thought we were doing great before EOS. Man, you know, what we've been able to see, I highly recommend it. Implement it.
That's a great tip. Dave Richards, who's helping me with the book, he's an EOS expert and he has kind of tweaked it for real estate. So it'd be great. I should, Dave, I think you met him down in Arizona. If you didn't, I'd have to introduce you to him. But he's awesome. I'm curious, how do you talk about profitability? What's kind of your target? Like Acre Brothers, we're targeting 30%. We're not there transparently. We feel we can get there in terms of like profit margin. We more fluctuate between like where do you try to target?
53.
No freaking. You're talking about net profit? Yeah, crazy. This whole book's going to be about you, Amy. I gotta learn from you. That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
But
is that because you have the ancillaries? Like the ancillaries are boosting that up, not the straight real estate. Meaning like it is real estate. Don't get me wrong, but it's like your vendors are playing into that, and your vendor program, which we haven't talked about yet. I know that's that other interview. Yep. Is that what's driving that profit margin through the roof?
Well, I think I live off the Amazon model, which is turning profit centers or cost centers into profit centers. So we look at a way like, and for every dollar we spend, we're looking, is it helping us serve higher? Is it helping us sell more? Or is it helping us add in like more recurring revenue somewhere? And so looking at that. And so what we've been able to do with the majority, a lot of our expenses have somebody else who pays for them. A lot of people who pay for that. And then we were able to, my vendors, it's a revenue source for us, but it's also a really big lead generation source too. So we were allowed to cut back on a lot of other expenses. So I don't, back in the day, I always say like, I made a $240,000 mistake. I was spending $30,000 a year for 8 years on billboards. So stupid. When they were not serving, they weren't doing anything on this. Like we were able to take off so many marketing things that we were throwing money at. And a lot of agents, they're a jack of many and a master of none. And when they do that, and they don't even really understand where they're throwing money at and what's actually returning a profit for them. What that is. And I think that's one big thing that'd be the first thing when you're starting a team is like set up your accounting process so you understand exactly what the ROI is for every dollar that you're spending. So you understand, and then looking to see how could somebody else enjoy in paying part of this that would serve them? So my vendor network, why my vendor network works is that we are pouring into them. We are giving them, we are helping them build their business. We're helping them, we're all serving the same ICP, ideal client profile. So we're giving them access to the people who we know that they need access to. We're helping them in doing all these different parts of as far as like brand awareness, making them and helping them be better business owners too. And showing them, we have masterminds we run once a month where like I have one this Friday where I'm going to do like, this is what you need to know about SEO in 2026. Like this is what's changed for AEO and SEO. We come in, we pack the room. I might have 3 HVAC, 3 vendor or 3 electricians. I'm the only broker who's pouring into serving their business. So I'm the obvious choice.
So good.
Yeah, when they're out in the wild and somebody has a life change come up that they hear about, where I'm the obvious choice, where my name comes up. So the referrals come back in a way that most agents don't leverage that, because I have one of my business partner has this line. I love it. He said, the real estate agent is often the buffet and everybody else brings the fork. That needs to change. Like that needs to change. If you offer to help these vendors in a way that is serving them to get them to their goals, sales naturally funnel back in. It just does.
That is so good. So many golden nuggets there. So I'm up in my goal. I think we'll hit 30% this year, maybe a little bit more, but 53% is outrageous. That is amazing. How do you deal with the natural thing that happens to all team leaders? You build up a great salesman, a great agent, and then they either negotiate split with you and they want more because they don't understand everything that goes into it, or they leave. Yeah. How do you guys think about splits, and how do you have that combo?
Yeah. So our splits are set, I guess maybe we don't put this in the book, but
sure.
The only thing that's not set is my OGs, because I have an average agent tenure of like 7 years. So we have people who stay with us, are sticky to us because we have a way of making their clients sticky to them.
Yeah, got it.
And so we have that stickiness. But have we had agents who...
Do you have a lesser split with the OGs? We've done that before us. We have, because of the value they've brought. But
right. Yep. So like their company generated, they have a higher split on their side. Yep. Okay. So mine, it's 35-65 for the standard agent, or 30-70 for a new agent.
Very similar to us. Yep.
That's so they're 45-55. My OGs are. Yep.
Love that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And all day worth it.
All day. Yeah. This is the type of info, if you don't mind, think about it, because I won't put it in the book if you don't want to, but this is the type of info that's so valuable, because we didn't know what to do ourselves, but hearing from someone like you, it gives me confidence. It's like, okay, yeah, she's doing what we're doing, because you almost feel bad. Like, okay, well, I have to give this OG more, but I think they're worth it, and it's like you're going off of your gut, but nobody's being open about, no, that's how it works. Like there's value in those people, and they helped you build it. So that's awesome. So thank you for.
So Byron said this, and now I hear it everywhere, the frequency illusion, right? But I said this at band camp, that he treats his agents all fairly, but not equally. And I'm like, that is so true, because that is the truth. The ones who are producing, who are doing the work, I'm going to treat you all fair. I'm going to make sure you're all taken care of, but it's not going to be equal.
Yeah.
It can't be.
It can't be. When they try to leave you, how do you express your value prop to them? Like, how do you make sure you're able, and do you even try to keep them, or is that weakness?
Yeah, no, I don't think we've exited off 3 bigger agents in the last 3 years that needed to go because of culture.
Okay.
And 2 of them, two of them were started out as assistants with me, who I've known for their entire, one of them I've known since they were little. And yeah, it's hard when that happens. But what I found, and my mistakes that I've made, is that we have let bad attitudes affect our culture, and that has hurt us far more than this. Like having somebody leave, I mean, as a 99D and a 99I, like, does my ego get bruised when somebody leaves? I mean, I hate losing more than I like winning, and I love to win. But does it hurt your ego? Yes. Does it hurt your feelings? Yes. You can try to pretend like it's not. It's going to do those things. The one thing, though, that we have, I call it the 100-year, myth buster, 100-year tradition, actually, buster, is that typically when an agent leaves a brokerage, and I got to be careful how I say this for a book, so maybe think about this. I'll say it and then I'll go back to this.
Yeah.
Typically when an agent leaves a brokerage, the 100-year tradition was that the relationship would follow the real estate agent. What we have found when we exit people off of our team, the clients are calling us asking if they can stay with the brokerage.
Wow.
Because they get so much service and so many things from the brokerage that's trumping the relationship.
Yeah, what a testament to the service that you
Yeah.
offer. Yeah.
So, but has that pissed off? And I have to be careful on that part of the book. But does that upset the agent we've exited off? Heck
Sure. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
It is. It's the, it's one of those things. It's so tough. It's the natural evolution. We had it. We got up to I forget the count, but it was 14 agents. We had, John and Lolly. They were amazing. They're still amazing, right? John closed 80 in a year, and Lolly had to be in the 50s, and then they left. They both left because they didn't want to show up with the standards and the values that we wanted for the team, and we lost them, and that sucked. We went from 320 deals to I think it was 260 the next year or something like that. But and it bruises your ego, but it's the best decision Steven and the team made, because now the team is humming more than ever, and everybody is synergistic in values. It's you got to hold to your standards. You just got to. I'm going to have you back, Amy, if you are willing to do a second part, because you are truly I've done already a bunch of these, and you are the best. This is unbelievable. The gold that you are
happy to
dropping.
help you with anything.
Yeah, that would be amazing, because I really want to pick your brain on a couple of different things, but we don't have time today. But marketing is one, and I have your other interview that I'm going to include, because your VIP and everything that you're doing is just outstanding. But I really want to also pick your brain on the sales process and how you think about leadership and finance and risk, legality. And you talk about, you're one of the only people that talk about building a business that you can sell. And nobody's talking about that. And I really want to include you in the book to educate us on how you think about building a business that you can sell, because I think that would be so valuable to the teams that listen to this.
One thing you should add into in our agent recruitment, that's part of our unique value proposition.
Okay.
It's let's build, we're not here just for you just to sell real estate. We're here for you to, our vision is to build big, juicy legacies for everybody in our ecosystem through our lifetime home support model. But that's one of the things, since we are so relationship based and so service centric, we are helping them build an asset that is going to have a multiplier that they're going to be able to get money from when they walk away.
Yeah, nobody's doing that, or at least nobody I know of and I'm talking to, nobody is doing that. And I think that is a huge opportunity for people. So this was amazing. So, everybody tuning in is very lucky to be able to hear this kind of behind the scenes chat with you. But I appreciate you coming on.
All right, there you go. Huge thank you to Amy Stockberger. I know not every team leader is willing to put out their actual splits, margins, and org charts on the table like that. I really appreciate Amy coming on and sharing all of that with us. She is the real deal, and I have a feeling she'll be back in this series for round 2. Everything that you just heard is only a taste of the $100 million Team Mastermind, being put on September 22nd and September 23rd at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess in Scottsdale, Arizona. From Reminder Media and BAM, this is not your typical conference. It's not a big conference. It's a closed-room mastermind capped at 100 people, no speakers selling from the stage. Every session maps to the systems that elite teams use to scale, from creating raving fans, managing your P&L using AI, and the org structure that takes you from 20 million to 100 million and beyond. It's built for the team leader and your director of ops, so bring them and get aligned in the same room. Early bird tickets are $1,200. Prices rise as seats fills, and there's only 10 VIP seats that include a private dinner with the speakers. Go to remindermedia.com/team event. We'll have the link in the show notes. And your action item for today, straight from Amy. Know the ROI of every dollar that you spend. Remember her $240,000 billboard mistake? This week, I want you to go through your P&L line by line and ask her 3 questions. Is this helping me serve more? Is it helping me sell more? Or is it adding recurring revenue to my business? And if it's none of the 3, that is your billboard. Cut it. Thank you so much for listening to Stay Paid. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up and share this episode with maybe a team leader that needs to hear it. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business and in every leader is top producers take action. So take action on that today.